Hi everyone, it's Steph here. This is the Novelty Corner and happy May the 4th! Yes, I'm here in my Princess Leia t-shirt. Because it is May the 4th, you're getting a bonus video because how could I resist? What some of my newest followers may not be aware if you haven't done a deep dive into some of my past videos is that I am a Star Wars book reader, and kind of a tragic one at that. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I actually really enjoy them. I will leave a link on the screen to my Star Wars bookshelf tour that I filmed last year, which is the most recent one. I actually have more Star Wars books that is in that collection, but they're in storage. So the ones on my shelf now are some of my favorites, or just because I'm a completionist and need certain things on my shelf. A little bit of a backstory, I do love Star Wars. I have very fond memories of watching it as a child with my parents, including being absolutely terrified of Empire Strikes Back. I can vividly remember where and when we were watching it and why I was so terrified. But obviously this has spiraled into a lifelong love of Star Wars, and it was in my mid to late teens where I was introduced to the Star Wars books that I had no idea existed. A friend had actually introduced me to what is now considered the Legacy collection of books, because they're no longer considered canon. That's a story for another day. And I got well and truly hooked. So what I thought I would share with you today are some of my favorites. I've actually picked 4 because it's May the 4th. And I'm going to show you my starting point with the books, where I started with them, and also some other books that I think if you are not a Star Wars reader, you might be able to find a good entry place for yourself. Now, I know I said I would talk about 4 books. The first book is technically a series, and that's because it's my starting point. And I started with the XWing books. Now, the XWing books in Star Wars actually, I believe, started as a comic series, and I do have some of those, but I actually started with the novels, and these ones are very old mass market paperbacks that I collected secondhand, slowly and painfully, and through lots of searching. So within the actual series, you have sub-series as well. So the first 4 books are part of Rogue Squadron. So you have Book 1, which is Rogue Squadron, Wedge's Gamble, The Krytos Trap, and The Back to War. So these ones take place post Return of the Jedi, and they follow the pilots led by Wedge Antilles that make up Rogue Squadron. And they're very much about political intrigue. They're very much a found family who end up working together to save the universe. And you all know how I feel about found families who band together to save people from things. It's a no-brainer for me. So that's the first 4 books. The next 3, which switch squadrons, although you get mentions of Rogue Squadron in it, and Wedge is still the main character in these series as he leads a new squadron. So the first book is Wraith Squadron, which is the name of the new group. All of their pilots in this series are picked because not only are they pilots, but they also are able to infiltrate particular groups. So they become sort of like pilot spies. Iron Fist and Solo Command. These are also really fun. I actually find this particular set of 3 books to be quite funny. There's a lot of humor in them. So the first 4 books were written by Michael A. Stackpole. The second books were written by Aaron Alston. It's a different kind of humor because you have a different kind of characters in here, but again, found family trying to save the universe. And then you have Izard's Revenge, which is a return to mostly Rogue Squadron, and Starfighters of Adamar, which is actually a combination of the Rogue and the Wraith Squadrons, but it's really the 4 main characters: Wedge Antilles, Tycho Selchu. I can never say his name right, but I'm pretty sure we'll go with it. Wes Jansen and Hobby, and I've just forgotten his name. Anyway, they're sort of the 4 main leaders from the 2 different squadrons, and they're just so much fun, and I have so much nostalgia about these books that they are some of my favorites. Moving into some other books, and these ones I promise, well, one's a series, but I've only got the first book here that I'm going to talk about. If you watch the films and you want an entry point into the books that are part of the new canon, probably the book that I'd recommend, because I've not had huge amount of success with the new canon books. I've had some that I really like, definitely, but I read quite a few of them, and the ones that I really enjoy are greatly outnumbered by the ones that I just thought were okay. One that I did really like was Resistance Reborn by Rebecca Roanhorse. Now, this book takes place between films 8 and 9, and if you had any questions around how or why Leia chose for Poe Dameron to become the new Resistance leader after his mutiny in the 8th film, this is the book to read, because this is what happens between those 2 films. It is mostly Poe's story. It is how he redeems himself in the eyes of the Resistance to becoming their next leader. And there are some really fun scenes in here, and I really enjoyed it. Rebecca Roanhorse has never steered me wrong, so this is great. Another series that I really like, or in fact, this is a character, and this is one of the characters that has carried over from the Legends books because he's very popular, and that is Thrawn. So Thrawn is actually a member of the Empire, and he is an alien, he's blue. And in the original series, he was very much an outcast within the Empire because the Empire was historically very xenophobic, and he eventually made his way through the ranks of the Empire because he's very, very smart. He's a very, very smart, tactical, analytical thinker. So this is the new reboot of the series, written by the same author, so the character is in good hands. Timothy Zahn does amazing things with Thrawn. This is sort of the reboot of this character, and we get more of the backstory about how he came to be in the Empire. We get to know a little bit more about his people, the Chiss, from the Chiss Ascendancy. There are 3 books in this first trilogy, and then there is a new trilogy, I think, that's starting. All of Thrawn's books tend to come in trilogies, and I'm really looking forward to starting the new one. I haven't picked it up yet, but he is a character that I really like because of the way that he thinks. And generally, I don't read books from characters from the Empire's point of view, but I've always really enjoyed these books. I just think they're really fascinating, and you get a different look because he is part of the Empire, but he's also coming from a background from a people who are very different to the Empire. And you never quite know exactly where his allegiance lies. So highly recommend the Thrawn books. And then if you don't want to dive into the deeper world of things beyond the films, the perfect book that I think is a great place for people to start, and this one I highly recommend the audiobook for it while you're reading this book, is the Anthology collection From a Certain Point of View. Now there is a second book out, and I'm imagining that there will be a third one very soon. This is an anthology of short stories based around the original Star Wars film, so A New Hope. And you have 40 short stories from 40 authors who are telling the stories of the minor / side characters that you see within A New Hope. And from start to finish, we get the entire film, the entire story of the film, told from the perspective of those minor characters. Now, they may be characters who had 1 or 2 lines, or they may be characters that we just saw on the periphery, and you get their stories. The reason I highly recommend the audiobook for this is that you have multiple narrators, you have sound effects. It's very much like listening to a film, very immersive. And the short stories are really fun because we're not following any of the main characters. We see them through the eyes of these other characters, but we don't get their perspective like we had in the film. So suddenly we're seeing everything in a different way, and I just adore it. And I keep putting off reading the second book, mostly because I know I'm going to love it, and I keep putting it off because once I read it, I've read it. This book is pretty special to me because not only did I mark it up on the sides, I also annotated it inside as I was reading with just little notes and things that I remembered about the films because, yes, like I said, I'm a Star Wars tragic. So this one is a really, really good starting place. If you don't want to dive into any of the expanded universe stuff, start here because it is truly based around the films that you know, and it's fantastic. So those are my recommendations for where to start if you would like to try and get yourself into Star Wars books. There are so many out there to choose from. There's young adult books, there's kids books, there's these adult collection titles, there's the Legacy book series, which are just everywhere. And I think I even noticed the other day in a bookstore that they've just re-released all of the original Thrawn trilogy from the Legacy series in new covers and new format sizes because I have them in mass market. So there's definitely still ways to access all of those old books, but there's also a plethora of new books as well. I hope that everyone has a wonderful May 4th. In the comments below, let me know if you have read any Star Wars books, and if you have, what are your favorites of them? I know that other people would love the recommendations. And if you want to let me know that you were here but you don't want to leave a comment, you can leave an explosion emoji down below. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you are staying safe and healthy. May the 4th be with you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.